Well, the watermelon up, the cantaloupes are up. The cucumbers are setting flowers. Won't be long, they grow fast. Peppers are doing quite nicely. The okra is starting to grow finally. It's slow to get started, but after it gets started, it's pretty good. The squash so far looks pretty healthy, and I'm sure they're getting the eggs laying on them. The beans are starting to get on the wire netting. You do have to push them away from a fence or unwind them from a fence and put them over there. Just like the cucumbers, they were leaning this way and you have to get them to lean back the other way. Takes a little bit of time, but once you get them all going that direction, they'll all follow each other. Maybe if I get from the other side, you can see the corn. There's a few kernels that didn't come up. Corn usually is pretty prolific from seed. But there's some that are behind the others. And that's my little homemade scarecrow in a sitting position. And that's my muscadine. It's been in the ground for a month, and I'm sorry folks, but it's not gonna make it. And Stark Brothers, bless their heart and all that, it came with a wad of damp paper down in the corner of the box, and the roots were in a plastic bag, and there was no moisture around the roots whatsoever. I don't know why they have this ball of strips of wet paper not around the roots inside of a bag. Came in a huge box. The wet paper was nowhere near the roots, and it's been a month, so pretty much that one's toast. And we'll leave it in there and keep watering it, but the buds just never change. They're the same old thing. Nothing swole. And I'm 5'11", and the camera's at my eye height, and you can see they're all definitely growing. We had to do a big tie-up job yesterday. One of these I lost main stem. One of the reasons it's nice to not to let the suckers grow. Let me stop this and find it. And this was a main stem right here, and it got up here, wasn't tied up. It fell over. It broke off right there about halfway. I gingerly put ties on here and brought this up and tied it off on both sides of that cut. And by the end of the day, the leaves are all wilted. So just time to cut it over. And now my stems will, suckers will take over. This is the 4th of July. They're really prolific. I just counted all these. And there are 40 tomatoes on that plant, and they only get a little bit bigger than that because you see where they're turning red. They're loaded. They're always loaded. That's why I can get 100 or more off of this plant. That is 1 month. In about 2 weeks, all these will be harvested. That's 40. You got flowers up here, you got flowers up here, you got flowers up here, and it keeps continuing to climb. And it's all coming off these suckers. I just have this, that's the main trunk. If I had just used the main trunk right through there, I'd have that cluster and that cluster and that cluster. And that's all I'd have from the main trunk, which is 6, 10, about 17. And I got 40 because I left the suckers on it. Now you think about it. With suckers, I got 40 tomatoes right now. Without it, I got 16. There's a lot of fruit out here. The better boys are doing the same thing. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on that one butter boy. It's been in the ground a month, and we still got several months to harvest fruit. And you know, there's your main trunk, right? And these are the suckers. That's a nice sized butter boy. Difference in a little sunlight. late in the day, this building behind me blocks it a little bit. And see this 4th of July? All those suckers, all those flowers. That's how you get several hundred off of one plant. We just have a normal growing season. The last 2 years we have not had a normal growing season. But they're getting bushy. They were slow to generate the suckers, and now they are. There's a cluster of 23. I'm still looking for bigger clusters. But see, these are 15, 18 per cluster. The tent caterpillars have really been bad this year. And I've taken a bunch off that pecan tree. But you can look up in the top of that tree from here if I can hold this camera steady. You see all that brown stuff in the nest? I'm going to have to get out fishing weight and pull those branches down so I can cut them off. Riding up and down the road, they're everywhere. This is what invasive monkey grass, Liriope, will do. I run this over with a lawnmower, see how it's coming out in the yard? It's all the way around to there. It'll hold the bank like no tomorrow. And this is a non-invasive kind. But see, it gets a little sunlight. In a little while that sun's going to be over there in the west, and it's going to be on top of this. And the non-invasive sun, Liriope, will not grow that well if it's in the shade. But this is non-invasive. It's taken over this entire piece of property. The hydrangeas are saying, please, 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 please water me. Especially this one that gets a little more sun. Now that one is about 50% peak on flowers. This is about 80% peaked out. But it's all drooping. It tells you, I call them water plants. They're made up of like 60 to 90% water. So when they don't get water, they droop really quick. But when you water them, they pick up real quick.